What's up, guys? Do you have a worn out or broken prop shaft, or is it just time to upgrade? Well, SuperATV has you covered with our Rhino series prop shafts, and today we're going to show you how to get one installed on this Polaris RZR Turbo S. So let's get right to it. First thing we're going to do is come over here to the passenger side of the machine. You can remove your tire if you'd like, or you can just turn it all the way out to the left. So once we're done here, we're going to locate where the roll pin is going to be attaching the prop shaft to the pinion shaft on the differential. Which, as you can see, ours is right here. We've already got it started through there. Here's kind of the setup that I like to use. You know, if you have a punch, pretty much anybody can set this up in their garage. Just take an old extension, an old socket, and you can put your punch in it. That way you don't have to take your A-arms loose or your tie rods or anything, and see it'll slide right in like that. And we'll just take our hammer and just knock it all the way out. The next step, we're on the driver's side in the rear. You're gonna see your rear motor mount here. You'll have two 13mm nuts securing this to the frame of the machine. We'll wanna go ahead and remove these nuts now. So once we have our nuts removed, I like to get a big pry bar and shove it right in the middle of the motor mount here. Kind of push as you pick up, and then you can just kind of rotate the studs to where it'll sit on top of the frame there. So once we've done that, we are going to be ready to remove all 4 of the Allen headed screws securing the prop shaft to the output shaft on the transmission. So what I like to do is leave this tire on back here, and I like to get my Allen wrench, get it started into your Allen headed bolt, and I like to pull it up and then just slam it straight down. And that'll help you break these loose. I've found that's about the easiest way to get them loose, otherwise it's kind of a struggle trying to hold the prop shaft in place and break it loose with the Allen wrench, especially when you don't have a ton of room to work. Once I get them loose, I kind of like to go around a little bit more just to make sure that everything's good and loose. That way we can get an Allen socket in there. So all of them are good and loose now. So I'm going to get a 6mm Allen. So now we'll just go through and continue removing all of our Allen headed screws securing our prop shaft. Get all this out of the way. And a lot of times you can just take a mallet or a hammer and just kind of tap the prop shaft, and it'll just come right off the flange. Just like that. So the next thing we're gonna do is come inside the machine and remove our seats from both sides. And then we're gonna disconnect our harnesses here, and we'll disconnect them from both sides. So next we're gonna go ahead and remove our center console. We'll remove this screw here, as well as one on the opposite side, and then we'll have a screw up here. On our machine we do not, because we have a cab heater installed. And then we'll remove the 2 push pins back here. We'll have a push pin here, as well as in the same location on the opposite side. And we'll just go ahead and pick up on our center console. So for this next step, you'll have a shield protecting your carrier bearing as well as your prop shaft. So you'll want to remove this bolt right here on the passenger side, as well as the bolt on the driver's side. Once you remove those 2 bolts, you're going to notice your shield, is still stuck. You're going to have a T30 Torx on the back side, which, like I said, our shield's already been removed. So once you remove the T30 Torx, which would be down through here, all you're going to want to do is slide that shield all the way back, and then get something to cover up all your wiring, all your hoses and everything. Make sure everything's out of the way, and you want to cut that shield. You'll just cut the back edge of it off and just keep sliding it back and cutting portions of it off until you can slide it the rest of the way out. Like I said, we've already done this, so we're going to go ahead and remove the bolts from our carrier bearing. I like to just kind of take a pry bar, pry my hoses out of the way, and we'll just take our factory bolts, set them aside. We'll want to slide our front prop shaft off of the pinion shaft. So what we'll do is we'll just grab the prop and slide it all the way back. And then we'll angle it over to the driver's side as far as we can. And we'll come up here to the front, take a look at where it's located at and see if we can't get it any farther forward. So we'll just wiggle it as far forward as we possibly can. And it'll be kind of wedged in between the differential there and the frame, just like that. Come back here to the rear, we'll grab a hold of our rear prop and kind of pick up on it and kind of wiggle it, rotate it as we're separating it. And we'll go back inside and we'll look to see where our prop shafts are at now. Sometimes it'll want to do this where it sticks together. You have to give it some wiggles. If they get real stuck together, a lot of times what I'll do, I'll just take a pry bar or something I can wedge in there and just kind of tap it off the front shaft. So right there, we used our pry bar a little bit and we smacked it with a hammer and we got our two shafts separated. So we'll move on back to the rear and we'll just go ahead and pull our rear prop shaft all the way out. Prop shaft still has your pillow block and carrier attached to it. What I like to do is get that rotated up as far as I can. So you'll have to wrestle it around quite a bit to get it up to this point right here. Then what we'll want to do is just pry the pillow block off of the actual bearing. So it ripped whenever we went to go to remove our carrier from our bearing there. It's no big deal, we can still get our prop shaft out. So all we're gonna do now is just slide this prop back as far as it'll go. And then we can just bring it right up through the center here. You will be able to, unless you have a cab heater installed. If you have a cab heater installed, just take it straight out the back. Just feed it right through the point where the rear prop shaft was going. So there's our factory front prop shaft. And now we're ready to get our new SuperATV Rhino prop shafts installed. This is how your prop shaft's gonna installed. It's gonna go just like this onto the pinion shaft. Since our splines are gonna be facing towards the rear of the machine. So that means that the SuperATV that is on the carrier bearing needs to face towards the rear. So the bearing will install just like this. See how our grease ring is facing towards our fixed flange and our yoke? It's exactly how we want it to go on. So it's gonna go on just like this. So we're gonna go ahead and remove our snap ring off of our prop shaft here. Just grab a pair of snap ring pliers, pull it right off. We're gonna take some brake clean and a rag and wipe the bearing surface off here where it's gonna press on. And also we'll get some green retaining compound that's provided in the kit and apply that to the prop. And we'll go ahead and get our bearing. Now what we're gonna do is we've made a tool to knock our bearing on. It's just an 1.5 inch wide piece of tubing here. We'll just get it lined up. We'll get our hammer. So just like that, it's all ready to go. Sit it back down. Just wipe it down a little bit, clean it up. We'll grab our snap ring and our snap ring pliers. We'll go ahead and get our snap ring reinstalled. So our front prop is ready. It's ready to be installed. We're gonna let this sit for 24 hours. We'll come back tomorrow and then we'll get it installed. All right guys, so we're back. We've allowed our green retaining compound to dry. So what we're gonna do is head back to the rear of the machine and get this prop installed. So we're just gonna take our prop, slide it right down, follow the same path that we did earlier whenever we were removing our prop shaft. So we'll just reach in here, get a hold of our prop, and just pick it up and just continue working it all the way forward. Then we'll do the same thing here. We'll just slide it over as far as we can, and then we'll grab the lower portion of our carrier. Now we need to make sure that the SuperATV is facing towards the rear. We'll just grab our upper portion, sit it out of the way, get some blue Loctite handy. Then we'll just take this lower portion of the carrier here and get it lined up with the OEM holes. We'll go ahead and put a little blue Loctite on the threads of our bolt. Just get our hardware installed into the factory threaded holes in the frame. So we're just gonna run our hardware down. We're not gonna fully tighten anything just yet. We're just gonna get it down in there just enough, that way it kind of holds it in place. So next we're gonna grab our prop and slide it right onto the differential. We'll just wanna make sure that our holes are lined up. We're gonna take the provided roll pin. One side will be beveled inward. We're gonna start that side into the prop. So now that we have our front prop shaft pinned to our differential, we're gonna head back to the rear and install the rear prop shaft. So we'll just slide our prop shaft in the same way that we removed our factory one. Because the Rhino prop shaft is a little bit bigger, you may have to pry your motor up just a little bit more. Lift up on everything. It's that extra little bit. Helps out tremendously. Make sure that your yoke is heading in the right direction as well. So the next thing we're gonna do is go ahead and reinstall our 4 Allen-headed screws securing our prop shaft to the transmission. We wanna make sure that we apply blue Loctite to these. So once we get one started, we'll just rotate it. Then just to run these in, we're not gonna tighten them with our impact setup here, but we are gonna run them in. So I'm gonna speed it up a little bit for us. So as soon as it pops, we're done. We're not gonna try to fully tighten it with an impact. And once we have them all started in there, pretty good, we'll go ahead and take our Allen wrench and fully tighten them. So next we're just gonna lift back up on our motor mount and get it lined up to go back into the holes. And once our motor mount's all the way back down into position, we will go ahead and get our nuts reinstalled. We'll go ahead and fully tighten those. All right, so next we're gonna go ahead and fully tighten the bolts that secure the lower portion of the carrier. So once we have our hardware tight, we'll wanna go back through with a torque wrench and torque it to 45 foot-pounds. So next we're gonna put Loctite on all 4 of our Allen-headed screws. And we're gonna make sure that the SuperATV is facing towards the rear. So we'll get everything lined up. And we'll go ahead and get all of our hardware started. And we'll go ahead and tighten these as well. And then we'll torque them. And you want to tighten them as well as torque them in an X pattern. So now all you want to do is go through and put 4 to 5 pumps in your carrier bearing and then grease all the rest of the grease zerks on the prop shaft. Reinstall any previously removed component, and that's how super quick and easy it is to install SuperATV's Rhino prop shafts on a Polaris RZR Turbo S. For more information on these Rhino prop shafts or any of SuperATV's great products, feel free to give us a call at 855-743-3427 or check us out online at superatv.com. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next time.